What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants. No hate. Just sitting here looking at some old stat fed text fights. Anyway, I just dropped the video and I make mentions of a comparison between Roy Jones and Anthony Joshua, and I'm referencing the confidence, okay, how they both had that in common. Two dominant fighters, and then, pretty much after their first loss, they weren't exactly the same. Now, for Roy Jones, his first loss was a disqualification against Montel Griffin for hitting him when he was down, and Montel laid there and pretend he was knocked out. It happens. His first legitimate actual defeat, okay, from an opponent that won was against Antonio Tarver in the second fight. Now, for AJ, we know that his first defeat came against Andy Ruiz. Now, he avenged that loss, and he also learned that he could actually fight on the back foot. Now, the thing was having the ring IQ to know how to mix it up. And I remember one time Anthony Joshua was giving, props to Muhammad Ali and was saying, the fact that this man could dance and move like that all night long. He said it's amazing because he said he tried it and didn't go so well. But he learned he could fight on the back foot. And it's not about fighting like Muhammad Ali, just like coming forward, being, fighting the way you used to fight. Nobody was trying to make him Mike Tyson. And I think his frustration and his lack of understanding of what the bottom line is that, look, you used to do it. That's all everybody's saying is get back to what you were doing. That he couldn't even see that because he was under so much criticism, and he's looking at everything he's done, and no matter what he does, he gets criticism. And it's like, yeah, he probably felt like people think I have to be perfect just to get credit to say I'm good. No matter what, it's never going to be enough. So when you heard me say a long time ago, AJ needs to forget what these damn people are saying, focus on what he has to do, and get back to his winning ways to where, he can get his just due, get the job done the right way. Now, Roy Jones, on the other hand, I do believe him dropping all that weight to come back to 175, 25 pounds of muscle to come back down. I do believe that played a factor in why he was so drained and tired so fast in the first fight with Tarver. But, in the rematch, afterward, you know what happened. He got starched in the second round. But even for that to be the case, what I saw with Roy Jones, okay, was his confidence was shattered. And that's the reason that he was in that position, that he was in mentally where he just couldn't understand what it was he needed to do. Now, we know that Anthony Joshua has been with several trainers. Roy Jones wasn't always with Alton Murchison. Like after it was a time where he was with someone else. And I feel like, really, I don't know if there's another trainer out there that could have did anything that could have made it click for Roy, as if the way AJ said it just clicked. So this video, what I want to point out is Anthony Joshua figured it out. Roy Jones didn't. There was a time when Roy Jones was offering to train Anthony Joshua. Now, the same way we say styles make fights in the ring, well, it's the same when it comes to training as well. Now, I'm not saying that Roy Jones couldn't have gave him something. I'm not saying Roy Jones couldn't give him a lot. Maybe so. Maybe, we don't know. Roy Jones actually did have a jab if he wanted to. The problem with Roy Jones using his jab was you could see he had a nice jab when he wanted to use it. But Roy Jones didn't have the legs anymore, like I said. So, and him understanding that, okay, one of my biggest assets is gone. my ability to move. Now, like I said, he needed to learn double, triple jabs, power jabs, snap the jabs, flick the jab when you need to, angles, use your lateral movement. That's what Roy Jones should have been doing. Same thing. You watch Katie Taylor fight, right? And what did I say about Katie? You watch her, you see her legs was huge. People don't understand. The things that you overlook and don't pay attention to, fans are not fighters. They don't understand these things. They have to be instructed on what they're looking at. And so what happens, the opponent picks up on it though. They see what it is. The trainer should, the fighter should. Okay, I feel like a lot of fighters, they're just like robots. If you're not telling them exactly what to do every second, they just won't get it. And this is where the difference with greatness is, levels to this. Katie Taylor figured out what she needed to do in the rematch with Cameron. No, I can't move around this ring the way I used to. My legs just won't do it. I can't get on my toes and, hop around like I normally do, get in, get out, dictate the pace and all. So no, what am I doing? Lateral movement, working off my jab, pumping the jab. The jab is constant. I'm not letting her plant her feet, get set. I'm making her have to reset constantly. When she comes to, plant her feet to punch, I'm no longer there. And she has a jab coming to her face. Even if I'm not landing it, guess what? I'm giving her something to worry about. So now when she tried to go somewhere else, I'm going to dictate with the jab where I want her head to be. And as soon as she come there, bam, I got her. You understand what I mean? I'm not just wasting shots, but I'm using the jab where I am wasting shots at times. But they're really not wasted. They're used as a diversion. Things like that. And so because Roy didn't have that, now don't get me wrong, Roy was an outstanding boxer. I mean, with what he had it all. But the basic fundamentals that he didn't have to use, like I said, it caught up to him when he got older. A guy like Bernard Hopkins, who's not as good as Roy beat them when they were younger in their physical prime. And, pretty much beat him with one hand. Bernard was able to sustain a higher caliber of fighting than Roy in the long run. And Bernard's like 4 or 5 years older than Roy. So the confidence was never the same with Roy Jones. And I remember I seen a fight that he had where he won the fight. Some guy, Prince Body or something, whatever his name was. I remember the guy was fighting Roy. And Roy was literally turning his head out the way of the punch. Like, you never seen Roy do anything like that. And that fight was kind of hard to watch. As the rounds went on, you could see Roy's confidence picking up because this guy was just basically one-dimensional. So Roy Jones was able to beat guys at that level. The Jeff Lacey's, the Felix Trinidad, like those guys. But when it came to the top guys, Roy Jones couldn't. He couldn't. Okay, he couldn't compete with the very top guys at that point. Now, his confidence, and you got to understand, Roy Jones was 36 when he lost his first fight, right? His real first loss to Antonio Tarver in the rematch. Okay, well, and him being 36 then, Anthony Joshua, his 2 losses to Usyk a couple of years ago, and he's not, Anthony Joshua's 33, 34, so bottom line, it's not like it's a huge 2.5, 3 year difference between the ages that they were in terms of that. But with AJ, age had nothing to do with him losing. With Roy Jones, it was a combination of both. Plus, Roy Jones, Roy, got to the point where his clock ticked quicker because when he had that loss, now he's 36, and to get his confidence back, I didn't see any real change. I didn't see any change at all in Roy Jones' style. I just saw his skills deteriorate. You see, with AJ, it wasn't because his skills deteriorated. It wasn't because physically he can't do these things anymore. It was a confidence thing. So that's also a difference. But you look at Floyd Mayweather, you look at other guys who, they're fighting still fighting and beating top guys. Bernard Hopkins he couldn't handle certain styles. Bernard had a problem with a good jab and movement and hand speed. It just bothered him. Okay, you see what happened when Roy Jones got back in there with Joe Calzaghe. Aside from the first round knockdown, basically the fight wasn't even competitive. And Roy Jones showed you, it's like, no, he just can't do these things anymore. Now, understand, when you're working off your jab and you're selective with your shots, your opponent is reluctant to come in unless you just can't punch and they just have no respect for your power. Okay. The thing with Roy was the reflexes wasn't the same. So as far as him leaping in with that lead left hook, he wasn't doing it anymore. So even though he's using his jab, he can't leap in like he used to. That speed wasn't the same. So the speed is coming from a stationary position now. You understand what I mean? So Roy was handicapped. It's like fighting with your upper body and you're buried from your waist down. That's pretty much what Roy, where he was. And so Anthony Joshua never depended on one particular thing. He used to put punches together well. He worked behind his jab. He had good speed, good movement. And pretty much, he was a smart fighter, but his confidence wasn't tampered with yet. Okay, so like I said, you heard both of them say things that indicated that their confidence wasn't the same. In fact, I remember Anthony Joshua was being interviewed, and I remember him being asked, do you think you'll lose one day? Kind of pause for a second, then he goes, yeah, I'll lose. I'll lose. And then he says, but some of the greatest fighters of all time has lost. It's not just the fact that you lose, it's how you come back. I agree with that. But first sign of weakness, yeah, I'll lose. It's a difference in your mindset. That's why you say things one way and somebody else will be asked the same question, but they'll answer it more correct, okay, with more confidence. Had he even said, well, I certainly don't plan on losing, ever. I plan on winning every time I go in the ring. That right there just shows more confidence than, yeah, I'll lose. When you said, yeah, I'll lose, did you have anybody in mind particular that you thought was going to beat you? So I just found that strange. That I'll lose. It was like, I said, bad sign, man. It's like when you have injuries, I feel like fighters should not speak about their injuries. Now, when an injury is spoken about because it causes a fight to be canceled or that fighter has to pull out and they have a replacement, well, yeah, the audience, the public needs to know. But a lot of times fighters fight with injuries, and I feel like once you say things and you start to talk too much, fighters will know you have lingering injuries, and guess what? They'll target those injuries. They'll push you to the point where they want to exploit those injuries and hope that they affect you during the fight. So confidence is the same thing. Weakness is the same thing. When people see it, yeah, they're going to push it. You have fighters that people feel like all you got to do is jump on him and put pressure on him and he's going to fold. We've seen many fighters like that. Adrian Broner, he does not like pressure. Now, if you stand there and play a chess match with him and don't really give him anything to worry about, you'll make him look better. Why? Because you're not forcing him to fight in a way he don't want to. You're not taking him out of his comfort zone. So that being said, when AJ made that comment, I said, okay, nah, this isn't good. And I remember there was a time when AJ was saying, like, he was asked about how does he feel about, like, when you get hit by someone really hard, like, what do you, and it was a female interviewer, and he said, it's part of what we do, I was, okay, I'll take your hit now. Let's see if you can take mine. Completely different mindset, and then he went from that to when his confidence is shaken, how do you win this fight? Pray. Just, pray, and, it's not about being boastful. It's not about talking trash. Even just to say, I have my game plan. I believe in my skill set. I understand what I can do. I understand what I need to do. And I know what I'm going to go in that ring to, implement in that ring. And that's what we come to do. We don't come to lose. This is not talking trash. This is a confident fighter, okay, believing in his ability to go in there and win a fight. And if you don't have that, then you're going to be exploited. You know, and in boxing, you got to understand, you know, now with all the social media and, you know, everybody has an opinion on this, that, and people want to be extremely critical, you know, based on what the political correct, you know, what's the politically correct answer? Who should we say we think is going to win, and all this type of nonsense. And you know, people hear things, they read things. Champ, they saying it's not about you. Hell, they saying that, you know, you fell off, you're not the same. All that, and things start psychologically bothering people, especially when one time you was a beloved fighter. Now all of a sudden everybody's doubting you. So yeah, but I think not just it clicked in terms of what he was doing in the gym with Derek James, and you know, in different trainers, Robert Garcia, like, because there's always something to take to the next fight to keep in your training. It's not just, okay, I did this for this fight. Now all of a sudden all that goes away, all those skills go away, all those little things. No, no, you take this. This is experience. You take this with you. Okay, so I think that too, him understanding, man, the hell with these people. I gotta focus on me. I have to get back to that. Now, if anybody needed their killer instinct back, it was Anthony Joshua. You understand? He was coming to win, but AJ was so frustrated, like fighting Usyk. He couldn't even hide it. It was all over his face. Even how he was throwing his jabs, like he wasn't sure if he was supposed to be throwing it. Like I'm not even trying to really hit you, you know. And I saw Roy Jones. Like, think about what I just told you that Anthony Joshua said. Even like talking about praying and uh you know, saying, you know, he'll lose and stuff like that. And I remember Roy Jones, same thing. This was an interview before the Glenn Johnson fight. And I remember Roy Jones, like, he just was monologuing. And I'm looking at his face and I'm listening to him, and it's like his confidence is shaking. It was clear to see. And he's saying things like, you know, I wake up mad with the world, angry, like I feel like I want to kill somebody. I'm saying, you're supposed to be feeling like that. You're supposed to feel like you want to kill nobody. You know, this is a sport of boxing. This is, you know, that's what this is about. This is boxing. You know, you don't want to kill nobody. And, you know, and he talked about the Glenn Johnson loss and said, just for the record, love, they ain't happening no more. Kind of gave the camera a little stare and sat there, and we saw how that fight went. Now, see, if I'm training somebody to fight Roy Jones at that moment, I'm telling my fighter, you see, you know what that is? And this is what I strongly believe that was, okay? Without a shadow of a doubt. That was like an indirect plea. Hey, fighters out there, we're not trying to kill each other. Stop swinging so hard, trying to decapitate people, man. Just box. It's about outpointing each other and you know, living to fight another day. We're not coming out there to try to kill each other. Because everything he said had absolutely nothing to do with you choosing to come into the hurt business for a living. So what are you talking about? You waking up just wanting to kill people, and what is all that about? You're a boxer, okay? No, you don't need to want to go outside and put a bullet in somebody's head for no reason, or you just jump the gun and want to shoot. No, you're a boxer. So what are you talking about? No, that's what they do. They try to decapitate you in the ring. They try to break your nose, your ribs, your eye socket. They try to damage you. That's what it is. Okay? That's what a lot of the British fighters used to get criticized for. Oh, they try to fight like gentlemen, like they don't want to go for the kill and stuff like that. And it's like, listen, you have certain fighters that fight that way. They don't fight with any real bad intentions on their shots. They don't, you know, fight with a real killer instinct. But at the end of the day, the whole point is those same fighters choose to fight that way. If you go in the ring or you're making comments where it's like you're pleading, you know, I know fighters do that. I've seen them where they're scared to hit a guy really hard because they feel like if I hit him hard, he's going to hit me hard. You know, and so they try to just lay off. And yeah, Evander Holyfield. What is one thing that people always said about him? He fights up to the level of his competition. So if you try to outbox him, he tries to outbox you. If you try to go to war with him, he'll go to war with you. There's fights that he's done that in, but Holyfield didn't come to play. Holyfield came to win, for sure. So but you know, and he's another guy. He had injuries. you saw him not look the same, was losing fights. Then all of a sudden, he got the shoulder surgery and took a little time off, and then slowly but surely, all of a sudden, like, damn, Holyfield's starting to win fights again. You know, and he got robbed against Valuev because he definitely beat that guy, and that was for a title. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. Certain fighters can tap back into it, but they already have the skills. They just have to have the right person that time to get with them and, hey, man, look, this is what you used to do. I'm not asking you to do anything that you can't do, that you've never done before. And even if you have to add new things to your game that you're not used to doing, you better get used to it now. Lock it in. Let's go. This is the big times, man. We ain't got time for all that. I'm not used to it. Let's go. And fighters, like you hear me say, they have to feel comfortable doing what they're being asked to do. And this is why I feel like the best ways to train is to work on everything. It's not just about training for a particular fighter, but just everything. You work on everything. And this is why you need to study film. And also not just watch it, but have conversations that break down and understand what the fighters are doing and why they're doing it. Because when you're in the ring, you know what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to know. And then there's also other things you need to bring into play against particular fighters that you may not normally do. They're not going to be expecting that from you. And this is why you have some fighters that's considered special. Most of the time people say because the guy got blazing hand speed, or they throw nasty body shots, or it's something flashy. But it's the mental game that they overlook. Like when you hear me say, people talk shit about Floyd, this and that. And I say, just think about how this guy wasn't the biggest puncher. He had respectable power because nobody ever ran through Floyd. But understand, I watch Floyd do things that I'm like, people probably not even pay attention to this shit. Like I remember Floyd, he would throw his double jab, he would step in, feint. He would fake the jab out, pull your hand down, and then bam, right over to the, I mean, he did a lot of, like, sometimes he would stand there, he would lean, right? He would fake the jab up, bam, throw the long shot to the body, right? You know why he's leaning in? Just so you could reach, and he's gonna pull counter, come back over top, come back again, boom. Like, I would watch him just do things and break fighters down systematically. Floyd would have a fighter going from trying to take his head off to trying to anticipate his shot, trying to be first, then scared to be first. Like, I would watch him, and he would switch up what he's doing and just throw you off. I would watch him switch 4, 5, 6 different ways in the ring. I would watch him do different shit, and I'm like, other people are not seeing this shit. And this is why I'm so keen on the science of boxing, because people overlook so many things that work, and that will make the fight so much easier for them, because there is a lot of techniques and things that fighters just don't do anymore. So when I look at Roy Jones and Anthony Joshua, it was funny because the comparison between the two of them was similar in terms of the lack of confidence and them looking like they're never going to be what they used to be again. For Roy Jones, it was true. For Anthony Joshua, well, he got his mojo back. And in fact, what I will tell you is, if you look at the difference, I never went against Roy Jones. Anybody Roy fought, I was always riding for Roy to win. Same with AJ. But see, let me tell you, see the difference. When I watch Anthony Joshua lose to Ruiz, what I say, everybody said he didn't look right. But people was trying to say he was scared. It's because he was coming to America for the first time and all this other stuff, whatever. But I said, we got to see what he like in the rematch. Okay? When I watched him rematch Ruiz, I'm like, okay. No, he wasn't letting his hands go the way he used to, but he was effective at what he was doing, and he made it look easy because Ruiz could not nullify any of it. Okay? Now, it's funny because, like, when people say, I remember the Chris Arreola fight with Ruiz, people were saying, see, AJ, that's how you fight Ruiz. It's like, yeah, because Chris Arreola wasn't moving. Really, he was like right in front of him. But in terms of the fight itself, Anthony Joshua beat Ruiz up. Chris Arreola didn't beat him up. They were landing shots on each other. And it was a back and forth seesaw thing. Okay? So you make it sound as though Chris Arreola would have beaten AJ or something. It's like, Okay, and I understood what people were saying, but I'm seeing AJ's just confused. I made tons of videos, and y'all know it. His confidence isn't there. He's confused. Okay, when I saw Roy Jones lose to Glenn Johnson, I said, Roy is done. And I've told y'all that story. I was in the room with my fellas, and they nah, Roy got this. I'm telling you, I'm like, he's done. When you study and watch people, see, y'all understand. I'm a person too. I like to enjoy what I'm watching, but I don't watch as a fan. I study everything, and I'm watching, and Roy's finished. I'm everything about him, everything. He's done. His confidence wouldn't allow him to do anything he should have done. And even for that very first round, how Glenn Johnson ran across the ring and Roy Jones throw some, couple of shots and go back to the ropes and stand there. It was refusing to throw. Whenever he threw back, Glenn Johnson backed off. And I'm watching Roy. Now understand, he's trying to win, but his skills were deteriorated so badly. His confidence just wasn't what it should have been or what it used to be. And I saw he was done. I never felt that about AJ, that he was done. I'm watching him and I'm saying he's stuck in his mind like he's trying to become this pure boxer. He's not a pure boxer. He's a boxer puncher. But he's going about it the wrong way. So whatever clicked with Ben Davison, whatever happened and whatever he learned, like I said with the other trainers, okay. So that road to get back to what he should have been doing, now the confidence there. Now the understanding of, okay, now let's add to what you've done already. This is you becoming that complete fighter. Now we want you to be better than you were before. See, how much more improvement, everything I said, it's a fight by fight basis, so we can only go by what we see. But yeah, AJ figured it out when Roy Jones didn't. And in terms of what Roy Jones would have brought to the table as far as teaching Anthony Joshua, we don't know for sure what would have happened. And I honestly, Roy Jones is not a tall guy. AJ is. We seen him working with Jared Anderson, showing him some things, and that was basic things he was showing him. All right, basic. And basic things can take you a long way. But stylistically, Roy Jones was nothing like Anthony Joshua or Jared Anderson. So his techniques and what may have worked for him, it may or may not. We don't know. But when you see great fighters, and then you watch one guy just get to the point where you see he's losing his way. He's not going to come back. The other guy, and I'm saying, and if you think about it, look at the videos I was making. And I said before, I'll let you guys know, I knew Roy was done after that Glenn Johnson fight. Like he was done. The thing is, he was so far off from what he was. Just like boom, look at him versus Ruiz. One fight later, he's struggling because of the weight. 2 fights later, it's like he's winning everything. He's flat-footed. He's standing there. Okay, he got caught, got dropped, got up, stumbled, whatever. Referee stops the fight. Okay, 3 fights later, Glenn Johnson, it's like, goddamn, who is this guy? You understand? Completely different. No. So when I watched AJ, I didn't feel like he was done. I just felt like the longer, I don't know how long it's going to take, or if he'll ever get back. And I've said that, if he'll ever get back to what he was, he's winning. But I don't see it as, it's not a thing of like he's old now, he can't do it anymore physically. No, it's here. And like I said, AJ's biggest opponent in that ring as of late had been himself. He's fighting himself in the ring. So when I'm watching him, I'm saying, okay, if he could just understand, and I've said it in videos, if he could just understand, did I not use that term? If it just click in his head, he just understand, man, wait, I used to do this shit. Why am I reluctant now? I didn't lose to Andy Ruiz because I was fighting my usual style and it just wasn't enough. No, I'm not going into the Serafina phone call or interview and all whatever, but bottom line, when you lose a fight, man, look, you got to dust yourself off, get back up. Nobody's saying it's easy. This is the fight game, and that's why you got to give credit to people who lose and then come back stronger. Lose, come back just as strong. And bottom line is like, okay, yeah, that fighter got some losses, but they only lost the top guys. And if you look at Anthony Joshua's resume, that's the category he's in. he only lost to top guys. You understand what I mean? So, and like I said, Roy Jones was a little older than AJ was at the time. So now you're going to 37, 38, and the hand speed was still there. Roy still had the hand speed and the power, but the foot move, the foot speed wasn't there. His ability to get out of the way of shots wasn't there. And Roy Jones' best defense was his offense. He basically would keep his hands up and move and get out of the way. So he was defensively sound. He wasn't technically defensively sound. You understand? And so, yeah, now that you're not letting your hands go, that speed doesn't matter if you're not punching, right? And the fact that you can't get the leverage, the movement, and get off with using your legs like you're supposed to, well, now that gives your opponents less to worry about. So all of that being said, we saw the decline. And yes, his confidence had everything to do with it. But his confidence and his age made it harder for him to bounce back. Whereas AJ, being a little younger than Roy was, it wasn't a question of age. Am I physically not able to do it? So Anthony Joshua, bottom line, finally was able to tap into what he needed to tap into. He needed help from different people. Of course, they all do. But Roy Jones never figured out what he needed to do. You see what I'm saying? And so, of course, he stuck around and started losing the guys that he normally would have destroyed. And so, when you look at it, naturally just a gifted fighter like Roy Jones, if Roy Jones had been thinking, okay, I'm not going to always be able to use my legs, so let me start working on fighting off these angles and popping this jab, switching my jab, a power jab, a flicking jab, the diversion jab, all that to set up other shots, and Roy Jones, even in his prime, there was a time when he went to light heavyweight. At middleweight, he was more vicious. At light heavyweight, he still had that viciousness, but he became more of a showman at light heavyweight, where I guess he felt like, look, I can outbox anybody. So instead of me taking the risk to just constantly going at these big guys, because Roy Jones Roy would brawl with a guy. I've seen several fights where him and guys are mixing it up. But Roy Jones became more of a, I just want to hit you, make you respect my power, and then just put on a show for the fans. And see, that may have been entertaining to the fans, but that also started to, little by little, take away that killer instinct. You see? So where you should be going for the man's jugular, you're just outboxing him, catch you with a good shot, admire your work, okay, cool. But he never learned to add all these other things to his arsenal. So now when I can't use my legs to get in like that, I'm still going to use my legs with this lateral movement, keep my head off the center line, and understand parry shots, 5, 6, 7 punch combinations. He never got back to that. So that being said, y'all, I just thought it was interesting because like somebody had asked me, like they was talking about Roy Jones, and we wasn't really talking about what I'm saying now to this degree, but the person mentioned how when Roy Jones basically was never the same, it was hard to watch his fights, and I said, yeah. And then that person did say to me, how do you think that person would have been, how do you think Roy Jones would have been as a trainer to Anthony Joshua? And I said, well, that will remain a mystery because they were so different. And it doesn't mean Roy Jones doesn't know how to explain it, understand and explain to a fighter what they need to do or what he's looking at with them. But we don't know, And it was funny because that person was saying, well, Malik Scott, because look at him trying to train Deontay, and he's not even and he beat. And Deontay beat him when they fought. And I said, yeah, I get that. I said, but Malik Scott was never really a good fighter anyway. He was mediocre because he couldn't do nothing. He has no big wins at all on his resume. So we're not talking about a great fighter trying to get a decent fighter that can punch to become a great fighter. With Roy, we're talking about a great fighter trying to teach another great fighter who, just like Malik, is completely different from Wilder. See, the way Wilder fought Parker in that last fight, that's the way Malik Scott fights. Hit and run. Hope you run into something. Hit and run. try to stay out of danger. That's the way Malik Scott fought. That's what you saw Wilder doing in that ring. If you look at Anthony Joshua and you look at Roy Jones, completely different styles. So this is where it's either an interest. I wonder how that would have went, or people feel like, nah, I don't see it, or people thinking like, oh man, Roy Jones is an experienced fighter. He's a great, yeah. But you have to connect with the fighter. You understand? So we don't know how it would have went. But I will say, yeah, a feather in the cap of AJ that no matter what everybody else is saying, and people were saying that he was going to, and you got to remember too, people were saying he was going to lose to Wallin because now he's back with he's with Ben Davison. He's not going to have enough time, and everybody always try to put limitations on you and tell you what you can and cannot do. It's a difference when somebody just, they don't want to see you do something, or they just following what everybody else says. But in reality, you look and think, but wait a minute, man. AJ is winning these fights, though. He's winning. That's the point. He's winning. No, he's not looking like the AJ of old, but he's winning. And like I said, when he knocked out Robert Helenius, that should also put a spark under his ass to let him know, man, damn, and I dropped it with one punch. Right? Simple. Right? So now he goes in there against Wallin. I know people feel like, who the fuck is this dude? Damn, that's AJ. Like, yeah, who? Yeah. So we never got that feeling watching Roy after he lost to Antonio Tarver. It was over. And Glenn Johnson was just the nail in the coffin. Like, we will never see that Roy again or anything close to that Roy. And, like I said, he was always a skillful fighter. And a skillful fighter can always have some type of trick up his sleeve. So after he dropped Joe Calzaghe, what y'all notice he did? Nothing. But walked back to the corner. He didn't try to take Calzaghe out. He continued to box and try, but what was the killer instinct? Then he found out, okay, Joe Calzaghe's no cakewalk, and in fact, my skills have deteriorated. I'm not what I was, so now basically I'm going to bleed and get beat up for the rest of this fight, because that's what happened. You think Roy thought that was going to happen? No. So that Roy Jones that was knocking everybody out, that Roy Jones that would brawl and bang with anybody, well, guess what? Remember, Joe Calzaghe was dropping his hands and was putting his face on Roy's gloves, and Roy was just standing there covering up, and I'm like, wow. And but I knew, like I said, and like, this is the last hurrah. So the last big win in his career over a guy that had a name was Felix Trinidad. And before that, Jeff Lacy. And Jeff Lacy was one-dimensional, just a puncher. I never was really big on Jeff Lacy. When other people was talking about him like he was the shit, and I'm like, he's all right, man. And people don't understand. Like, when I'm rating fighters, man, I'm not like everybody else. I don't, because everybody else is saying it, I got to say it. Like, no, I could see what Jeff Lacy was he was all right. And Joe Calzaghe was no joke. Solid fighter, but he showed you. So we talking about elite level fighters, man. And you can't compete with elite level guys. Then you're not elite. You're just good enough to beat the guys that you beat. So you might look like you're here to other people, then somebody else come along and like way over your head. So yeah, we saw that. We saw what happened. And then if you compare, if you compare the fight with Jeff Lacy and Joe Calzaghe compared to Jeff Lacy and Roy Jones, well, the Joe Calzaghe fight was the one that ruined Jeff Lacy. So he was already ruined by the time he got to Roy, but Roy was also ruined. And so Roy Jones won the fight, definitely won the fight, swelled his face up, cut him and all that. But the point is the fact that Roy Jones couldn't get rid of a guy that was already shot. It just, what people thought, I guess it was the Roy Jones fans that was just, that he would beat Joe Calzaghe. But we see how that went. Now, that all being said, for AJ, he figured it out. Hopefully that through his training and, he add and continue to add and continue to grow. And if he can honestly get back like fully to start, whatever he does, whether it's explosive combinations, working off the jab or whatever, we'll have to see next time he gets in the ring. But that AJ that fought Wallin, he's back, man. That same, and this is what people understand. If AJ wasn't confident, if what he needed to know didn't click with him, he could have very easily went in there and went the distance with Wallin, even if he won. You understand what I'm saying? And you know, people still would have criticized, even if he would have won a 12-round decision. Okay, even if they split rounds or however it went, but he went in there, he still doing business. Care about the criticism. I know what I saw. Everybody know what they saw. So the people that's trying to knock the performance, that's okay. You know, fools will be fools. But he's in a position right now where he can just continue to grow, focus, do what he's doing. You don't see him all over social media running his mouth and focusing on other fighters and talking. No, he's just focusing on what he has to do. He's on a mission. And that's what he needs to do. So when fighters are saying they got to get their killer instinct back, well, there's always somebody that you can watch and learn from. There's always somebody that can inspire you. There's always somebody that can do something that can give you that extra incentive to push yourself harder. And he finally got it back. And the only people that are mad are fools who basically wanted to see him fall off, want to see him, get beat simply because they want to say that he's not as good as the fighters that they like. But the reality is, here was a guy that was unified champ twice, was trying to become undisputed, and was just basically dedicated to the sport. And not shit talking people, not down talking people, not trying to kick people while they're down. But in this day and age, the guy that plays the bad guy, that plays the villain, gets all the praise, even if they ain't shit, So, yeah, I just thought that was, I said, you know what? I'm going to speak on this in the video. But yeah, and that's pretty much the way that shit went, man. So yeah, Roy Jones was a great, ultra talented fighter, and Anthony Joshua was a great fighter that, they both lost their way. One found his way back, the other one didn't. Two different eras. But yeah, he did offer his services to train. But I just don't know. We seen what Roy Jones did with Conor Benn, a couple other guys I remember him working with. He's never been like a full-time, like a permanent trainer for anybody. So I don't know what he would bring to the table with Anthony Joshua. I really don't. But his career went the way it did. He had a great career. Some good wins, some good fights and all that. And just like anybody, he faces shares the criticism as well. Everybody. There's no fighter that doesn't have some kind of criticism. It's a difference when somebody's hating versus somebody just being honest or just see things a certain way. And when people were saying that, if he trained with Roy would do that, we don't know that. We don't know that Roy would have been able to make him a better fighter. We don't know that. And you also got to understand, it wasn't so much that it was reminding AJ of what he used to do and trying to get him back to that. It wasn't about changing him. It was about changing his mind. Okay? You got to remember one key element in what I said about Roy Jones. Roy Jones, even when he was still winning, lost that killer instinct and became a showman. AJ needed someone that could tap into that to get him to tap into it. So guess what? Roy Jones could be a way better fighter than anybody that's trained Anthony Joshua. But it doesn't mean he can tap into here, and here. Okay? When maybe one of them can. So it's not always just physically what you're showing somebody, but mentally. And I really don't think Roy could have did that, because that's what was missing from Anthony Joshua. That killer instinct. Roy Jones lost his killer instinct. So he's not going to instill that in Anthony Joshua. You understand what I'm saying? His style would have been trying to keep Anthony Joshua safe. Safety first type of fighter. You understand what I mean? You have to understand the fighter himself. It's not about showing him what you can do. Right? It's about helping bring out what he already has. And fortunately and thankfully for AJ, that's what happened. So we don't need to know what would have happened anymore. I mean, it's an interesting thought to some people, but we got a result now and a product in Anthony Joshua to where people are like, hey, he's back. And that's what's important. Get back to your winning ways and look good doing it. Let me know what y'all think. And how much do y'all remember about Roy Jones when he did lose and you knew it was over? And you just started seeing him lose fight after fight after fight. And it was like he was definitely, of course, he was way past his prime at that point as well. But, yeah, he lost his way. Before the age thing, before Father Time fully stepped in, you could see that, yeah, he's not the same guy. And that's not the case with AJ. It wasn't an age thing. But now y'all see, some of us already get it. Confidence is everything. You hear that about confidence in so many different aspects in life. Confidence is. Imagine if you, if you had to go to the doctor and you needed something done, and you said, "Doc, are you sure you can do this?" Imagine if your doctor said, "Well, I'm not really sure. We can pray. I can try and just see what happens." Nah, Doc, that's not what I want to hear. You take your car to a mechanic. Do you think you can fix my car? Well, I can take it apart and see what I can do. I'm not sure. Nah. Hey, listen. I pay you $1,000. I need you to paint this, and that. Do you know? I seen you with the truck. Well, I don't really know how to paint, but I can see. No. You want somebody confident to do the job. Simple. You understand? So yeah, confidence plays a huge role in everything. It plays everything. If you're in the car with somebody and they sitting there shaking and shivering and scared to drive, pull over. No, you trade seats. I'm going to drive. So yeah, and when you're scared, what do? You do something, making these scary decisions, and you wind up doing something that you wouldn't have done if you was confident. And so you see, for all the people that was saying, when they was asking me about Anthony Joshua, and I told you, I'm not saying anything good or bad about him because I like or dislike him. I'm saying what I'm saying based on what I see. And what I see in AJ, his confidence isn't there. He's confused. He doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing. Somehow, it's like he just don't know how to, he don't remember what he used to remember. You think he never knew these things, watching him, how he was just so unsure of himself against Usyk. And he was holding back against Usyk. So, yeah, when people say when he fight a power puncher, it's going to be different. Because if he's holding back against Usyk, what happens when he's with a banger? And that's why people kept saying if he fights wild, he's going to get knocked out. But it's like, do you understand? Usyk isn't giving him a problem because of power. He's giving him a problem because AJ's fighting the wrong fight, trying to outbox one of the best boxers that's in the game. Here's the thing. Usyk is a pure boxer. AJ's a boxer puncher. If you fight him as a boxer puncher, you got every bit of a chance of knocking him out and winning the fight. If you try to fight him as a pure boxer, you're going to lose because that's not who you are. Just like Wilder isn't a boxer at all. So for him to be running around, skipping around, fighting on the back foot like he was doing, it's like, Malik, what the fuck do you got this man here doing? That's not going to work for him. And it wasn't working. And what didn't you see happen in the fight? You didn't see Wilder switch up and say, let me go back to what I normally do. No, let me, in terms of, no, nothing. He couldn't do anything. So, and that's where you got to understand. Confidence is everything. And what did you hear Wilder say? Now, I definitely don't agree with him saying he hurt Joseph Parker several times. I failed to see him hurt him once in a fight at any point. But even him saying that, he goes, I hurt him several times, but for some reason, I just wasn't throwing punches, and I couldn't understand why. You're doubting yourself. Within the fight, you're doubting yourself. If you're in the middle of a fight saying, damn, why am I not throwing punches? You're fighting yourself, and you're doubting yourself. So you see what role it plays. And you can see the lack of confidence, which is why he still hasn't signed the fight, saying. And why he is on the fence if he's going to retire or not, and the excuse about being a happy fighter and I got to get my killing instinct back. So when you hear fighters talking like that, it's excuses to cover up why they really lost, and it's also excuses to cover up the fear that they doubted themselves. So you could laugh at somebody today because they have a certain mindset, then all of a sudden it's not funny no more because you have that same mindset you was laughing at. So yeah. But anyway, tell me what y'all think. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.